Challenge your perfectionism. Be realistic with yourself and understand that things are not going to be perfect all the time, and that's okay. Welcome to Plan, Prep, Pray. Hey girlie, my name is Wendy and I am a homeschooling stay-at-home mom of 4 little ones, and on this channel I talk about all things homeschooling, mommy self-care, kids empowerment, and home management. So subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. So this is a collaboration from a bunch of homeschool mom channels that I love here on YouTube. We have come together to just give you a wealth of information when it comes to dealing with the overwhelm. And so I think when it comes to dealing with overwhelm or overwhelming situations or stressful situations, you can't have enough tools in your toolbox to really help you overcome and get past it. So definitely after this video, check out that playlist and I am sure you'll find something that works for you. So as some of you may know, I have a daughter who was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease called juvenile dermatomyositis. This disease actually only affects 1 in a million children. And so it's very, very rare. When we found out about this disease, I had 3 children, and one of them being an infant, and we were homeschooling. It was just a very, very overwhelming situation because with this disease comes doctors and hospital visits and medications, and not only that, but then there was a lot of changes with her own physical appearance and emotional issues that she went through as well. And so it was a very overwhelming time in our life. And it still is. It still can be. And what really helped us get through that time and get through that trial was the list of things that I'm going to give to you right now. And I just want you to know that I understand that I'm coming from a place of being overwhelmed and having overcome that, and I still get overwhelmed on some days, but having overcome that, I just want you to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a day past the overwhelm. So let's start. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is to tell you the things not to do. These are the things that I did, and I realized that didn't help, and it honestly made things worse. So the first thing you want to do is you don't want to scroll. Don't dive deep into social media and or even into research, or don't scroll. Don't use social media as a way to not have to worry or think about what's happening. It doesn't help. In fact, it makes it worse. The second thing I want to say is not to do is don't surround yourself by that person that's validating all those negative and overwhelming things that you are already speaking over yourself. You don't want to surround yourself with people who bring about overwhelm rather than people who encourage and uplift you. The third thing is mental health is a real thing. You want to make sure that you focus on your mental health. Just as if you had a broken arm and you would go to the hospital to get your arm cast and your arm fixed, your mind is also something that needs to be tended to. I remember after having my first child, I suffered postpartum depression, and as a nurse, I was already well aware that these things were possible. And so the first thing that I did was I went straight and sought a psychologist, because I realized that the way that I was feeling, the anxiety that I was having, and the things that I was going through were not okay. And so I think it's very important that if you are experiencing some sort of depression or some sort of uncontrollable anxiety or whatever the situation is, then you need to speak to a professional. You need to speak to a doctor, and there's no shame in that. There's nothing wrong with the needing to talk to somebody if your overwhelm has gotten to that point. Don't push through. There's this mentality that you just push through, just keep going, just push through. No, don't push through. You are not any better by pushing through. It is best to acknowledge that you are overwhelmed. I remember I had a friend, and we went out to eat, and she asked me, she said, "How are you?" And I just broke down into tears. And I didn't even realize that I was feeling overwhelmed, that there were things going on within me, until she asked me how I was doing. And so it's so important to not push through, to do a self-check, to ask yourself, how am I today? How am I doing? So on a daily basis, ask yourself, how are you doing? Are you okay? How are you feeling? And dive deep into that. Write it down, journal it. It's so important to do a self-check. I feel like as moms, we tend to constantly neglect ourselves, and it's not a good thing. So it doesn't make us better moms. So definitely, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed, do daily self-checks just to make sure that you're doing good. It's so important to figure out what is making you feel so overwhelmed. So for me, I brain dump. I sit there and I make a list and write down everything that's on my mind, that's stressing me out. And at that point, I can then see, okay, yeah, it's this that's making me feel more overwhelmed, or it's this that's making me feel the most overwhelmed. Take the top 3 things that, if they were off your plate, if they were done, if they weren't there, would make you feel 80% better. And those are the top 3 things that you focus on. And those are the top 3 things that you get done. And you just, like Dave Ramsey says, you draw a line, and nothing below that line can get touched until those top 3 things are taken care of. Also, I recommend being realistic with your workload, or the amount of things that you expect to accomplish in a day, as with the time that there is in a day. So when you brain dump and you write everything down and you assign everything either a time that it would take to complete this task, or a day to complete it, understand that it's important to work, it's important to rest, and it's important to play. There's different things in your life that are important to get done. So if work time needs to be work time, and it should not be seeping into other times. And that's what tends to make us feel the most overwhelmed, when we feel like we're doing other things in the midst of other things. So definitely be very conscious of how much you're working, cleaning, cooking, those types of things, how much you're playing, and how much you are resting. Rest is so, so, so important, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed. We tend to be way more overwhelmed when we're not getting enough sleep. And so be realistic with yourself within the season that you're in. Ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. I'm gonna let you know that right now. For me, it's very hard for me to ask for help. It's not a good thing. It's not something to be proud of, but ask for help, delegate, ask your children to do things, ask your husband, get a housekeeper, whatever you can do with the means and the things that you have, ask for help. It is not, there is no shame in asking for help. Utilize technology wisely. If you've got to use technology to get a little bit of a break or to be able to accomplish something else, that is perfectly fine. Utilize technology wisely. Get outside, get some sun. There's something about God's creation, and there's something about just being in nature that really just refreshes our soul and really just gives us an opportunity to breathe and overcome these overwhelming times. Lastly for today, because I've got like boatloads of tips, but lastly for today, challenge your perfectionism. Challenge your perfectionism. So, us perfectionists need to understand that not everything's gonna be perfect. Not everything's gonna be the right way at the right time, and that's okay. It's okay to just let certain things go. It's okay to not have things be just so. Not have, it's all right if he's mismatching. It's okay if I didn't get all the housework done today. It's okay if all the homeschooling was in time. It's okay if God, I don't know, if the table wasn't cleaned or whatever the situation is. Challenge your perfectionism. Be realistic with yourself and understand that things are not going to be perfect all the time, and that's okay. I hope either one or two or three, some of these tips could be helpful to you, could really help you to overcome your overwhelm. Let me know down below if you have any other tips, because I'm getting my toolbox nice and packed. And don't forget to check out the playlist of the other homeschool moms and see how their tips can help you, and just make your own unique toolbox of different ways that you can overcome your overwhelm. I'll see you next time. Bye. Haha, gonna be a good one. It is storming outside, so if you hear thunder, lightning, that's because there is a full-blown hurricane going on right now in Florida. No, I'm just kidding, but it's raining really bad.